This is a topic that most parents prefer to avoid dealing with: death. It's uncomfortable and it can bring up emotions that, quite frankly, we just don't want to deal with. When we have kids, we want to protect them from harm, from anything unpleasant. And death is unpleasant. It sucks. But the truth is that death is a reality. We all eventually die, and nearly everyone experiences the unfortunate death of someone that they love. Well, in this video, I'm going to go over some tips that I learned while I went through my own grieving process. Hopefully, these tips will make it a little bit easier to discuss death with your child. Hey guys, I'm Jason Kreidman and welcome to another episode of Dad University. We cover a different dad advice topic every Thursday, so be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click on that notification bell so you know when our videos are uploaded. Also, it really helps us grow our channel when you share these videos. So maybe you know 3 friends that might enjoy it. Please share it with them. Whether it's a parent, friend, relative, child, or even someone in the public eye, death can really affect us. Most of us are just not taught how to deal with death. Now, of course, this can vary culture to culture, as some cultures deal with it differently than others. I wanted to share my personal experience in going through this process. My mother had passed away years ago from a long battle with cancer, and it was devastating to our entire family. At the time, my son was 3 years old and my daughter was 1. For my 1-year-old daughter, there wasn't much to deal with. She really didn't understand what was going on. But for my 3-year-old son, he knew grandma really well and he had questions. So, forget about trying to communicate the death of their grandma to my kids. I didn't even know how to deal with it for myself. I ended up going through grief counseling, which was a game changer for me. My therapist, Jim, was absolutely instrumental in helping me through a very difficult time. I interviewed Jim a few years ago on my podcast, and it was awesome. Today, I want to talk about some of the things that I learned about talking to my kids about death. And hopefully it will help you with that process. Number 1, be honest. Don't hide it. Don't sweep it under the rug. Don't pretend that it didn't happen. Now, of course, with all of these tips, you have to take into consideration the child's age, but be honest no matter what. So for our situation, we said grandma died of cancer and she's now in heaven. And while my son didn't grasp all of those concepts, he did understand that grandma wasn't going to be here anymore. You know, and we had this thing when we had said that she was up in the sky. One time a balloon was let go of our hands and it went up in the air, and my son said, "Hey, don't worry, grandma will catch it." So he understood that she was no longer with us, and that was special. Be honest with your kids. Number 2, be empathetic. Put yourself in your child's shoes. Look at the death from your child's perspective. They may have had a different relationship with that person than you did. Maybe it's a relative, a friend, or a parent, or somebody else that their relationship with that person is different than yours. So try to put yourself in your child's shoes so that you can see it from their perspective. Being empathetic is important. Number 3, use the word death. Sometimes we use different words thinking that it's going to make the situation easier to handle. So like the term passing away. Sure, that's easy for adults to understand, but for kids, passing away or gone to sleep forever can be difficult to understand. And certainly in some instances scary, because you don't want the child to think that they can go to sleep and never wake up. So use the word death, and there's really then not a question of what you're talking about. Number 4, allow yourself to grieve. This was the single most important thing that I learned. Giving myself permission to cry and be sad and be angry and feel all of those emotions that grief can bring was important. Don't judge yourself because you're crying or because of how you're reacting to something. Allow yourself to feel whatever you are feeling. And this was so important to me and me getting through that process. Number 5, let your children see your emotions. In the beginning, this one was tough for me because I felt like I had to be strong for my family. And being strong meant that I couldn't cry in front of my kids or be sad, because that will make them more sad. But when I learned that I had to allow myself to grieve, then if me grieving happened to be in front of my kids, then okay. They saw that Dad was upset and they would ask questions, and I would be honest and say, yes, I am really upset. You know, Grandma dying was very hard, and we're gonna be okay, but I am really sad. And so I was then allowed to grieve, and they saw me as a human. Regardless of what some of these videos might show, I actually am not a robot. I swear. Number 6, be inclusive on whatever is going on. If you're having services or a funeral or family meetings, be sure to include the kids. It's not just for adults, and they shouldn't be excluded from those kinds of activities. It will be helpful for them to be a part of those things. And it's not going to be so scary and so foreign to them. Make sure that they are included in those kinds of activities. Number 7, let the child lead the discussion. You don't have to dump a bunch of info on them or provide them details that they don't need, but let them know that if they have questions, they can certainly ask. And they will have questions about death. It's important to let them lead the discussion and then be honest with them. Answer their questions honestly. Everyone deals with death differently, and there's no perfect way to deal with it. As it relates to our kids, I hope that these tips about talking to your kids about death helped. If you are going through grief, then a grief support group or a grief counselor can really be helpful, and I hope you seek those out. Are you currently going through grief? Have you talked to your kids about death? Leave your feedback in the comment section below. If you found this video helpful, you don't want to miss what we have for you in our other videos. So please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click on that notification bell. Also, be sure to share this video with your friends and family. We'll see you next week.